Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Interactive Presentation Design, Part 1. Before I start, I would like to thank TDRA for allowing everyone this opportunity to learn and deliver knowledge. And I would like to thank specifically the TDRA Virtual Academy team for setting up this platform.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to.
So let's start. First of all, a little about myself. Name is Ayman Khalifa. I've been in the training field for almost 13 years. I'm delivering several areas in the IT domain, from cybersecurity to networking, software engineering, graphics design, beside end user training. And this is a quick summary of what I do. This session is of two parts. The first part is the interactive presentation design, where we'll talk about general tips and tricks on how to present your presentation or your PowerPoint, and how to develop and design your PowerPoint. And then the second part of the session would be how actually to go into PowerPoint and do and apply and practice those tips you learned in the first session, and get hands-on experience on PowerPoint and the ecosystem of other tools that I use in order to come up with a presentation. My agenda for this session has 2 points. First, we'll talk about a couple of tips and tricks for presenters using PowerPoint, and then we'll move into the design tips. So let's start. First of all, let's discuss some of the worst PowerPoint slides that you might find online or during presentations. And wait for it, it gets even worse because it's colored. What's wrong with these presentations? They have a lot of information. The background, if you see right here, it doesn't allow you to read correctly. Some of the pictures you see in here got nothing to do with the content, and so on. And look at this, for instance. Messy a bit, all right, where you can't really extract the information you want. And loads of information like this can cause your audience what we call cognitive overload. A living proof of this problem, which is caused by your short memory, because most of your attendees, or not all of it, all of your attendees are sitting with you during the presentation, or if you're watching a live presentation, with their short memory. A living proof of the problem with the short memory is the queue system. How many times you check your number? We almost check our numbers with every beep on the system, although we know our ticket number. But again, this number goes into the short memory. That's why your brain doesn't really keep it. It's not a permanent memory. It doesn't keep it all the time. 90% of your attendees, 90% of your audience would really lose focus in 30 seconds of your presentation if your presentation is not engaging. If the content is not engaging, the design doesn't really deliver the content, the design distracts the attendees, well, they can last up to 10 minutes, but definitely after 10 minutes, you will cause them what we call death by PowerPoint. Allow me to show you 5 actions to avoid death by PowerPoint. Number 1, have one message on your slide. Don't talk about 2 different topics in your slide. So for instance, if I'm talking about TDRA services, I'm not going to mention internet and e-commerce beside equipments and devices. I need to choose one of them and let my slide focus on one message at a time. So what I will do, I will drop the second one and keep the slides focusing on the message that I want to deliver. Number two, working memory. This is the short-term memory, which is concerned with immediate conscious, perceptual, and linguistic processing. And again, the example here for the short memory and the issues with the short memory is your boarding pass ticket. How many times? A question to you. How many times you check the gates and the seats from the time you receive the boarding pass until you buckle your seatbelt? We check them several times, several times. So this what happens during your presentations. The brain of your audience can really slip away. So in order to keep them with you, present, engaged, try to avoid too many sentences while you speak, because your audience has simple choice. They either listen to you or read what you do on the slides, but they cannot do both together at the same time. So what you need to do, take the content from the slide, put it on the note area, and then have a summary on your slide. So instead of having a big paragraph like what we saw on the previous slide, instead shorten the paragraph into bullet points and put the full text or the text you want to speak or you want to say within the note area. Then the question would be, if it's on the note area, how would I see it while I'm presenting? I have the solution for you. While presenting, PowerPoint has a presenter view. This presenter view will allow you to see something different than what your attendees are seeing, especially if you have dual screen. If you have your laptop connected to a monitor, what will happen is you can easily enable the presenter view from the slideshow tab on your PowerPoint. Make sure you have this checkbox on presenter view. And this what will happen. You will see this part. Here is the comments you added. And then attendees would see this part. So you will have short text on your attendees, specifically what I like to call triggers. Small or less few keywords that triggers in your brain what you want to say. And that would be it. That would be the fix for the short memory. Number three, size. Believe it or not, all human beings focus on four things all the time. And these four things are moving objects, signaling colors, high contrast, and big objects. Let's put it in an example. When you're driving on the road, what grabs your attention is the advertisements. If they're images, static images, then it won't really grab your attention. But if they're on a TV or a screen with moving objects and bright signaling colors, big objects, then that's what brings what grab your attention. When you go to visit your friends at their house and they have a big TV, all of a sudden everyone in the living room just watching the TV, they're not even talking. So we will make use of this within our presentation. Allow me to show you how. If we're back to the slide where we added the text we want, supported it with a couple of pictures, images, in order for better delivery, because your attendees, some of them they like to read, some of them they like illustrations to deliver the point to them. So you need to satisfy all of your attendees. But there is a problem with this slide. You know what? The problem here in this slide is that, remember, size is our point. Now, the big size goes for the pictures here. This is not my focus. My focus is on the content. So I would like my content to be really bigger than the icons. So I'd like this one to be the biggest thing on my screen because that's my focus. Usually what we do in our presentations, we have the title of the presentation as the biggest object on the screen, while you actually spend fractions of seconds on the title, and most of the time you spend it on the content. So what I'd like to do, usually, I switch. I set the content as the biggest object on my screen. I reduce the title and I reduce the icons, the supporting images. Number 4 on my action list is contrast. What you really need to do, you need to keep your audience engaged. You need them to follow you on what point you're talking about exactly, what point you're discussing, what paragraph you're talking about or detailing. So in order to use contrast to grab your audience attention, that's what I do. Instead of just throw a list like this and start talking business unit, financial service, and then your audience doesn't really know, are you explaining mobile network operators or you're explaining connected devices? You can guide them because your audience are like cats and the laser beam. You take them one by one. I'm talking about the business unit. It's obvious that I'm talking about the financial service institutes now. And then you move on, mobile network. And at any point of time, if you finish and one of your audience asks a question about mobile networks, to keep everyone engaged, you go back to mobile networks and then elaborate or answer the question. So now everyone is on the same page, everyone is singing the same sheet of music. If you're displaying tables, you can do the same. Don't just throw the whole table and start talking. Take them one by one. For instance, here you go. I'm talking about the first row, and then I move, and now they can really follow me. What point am I discussing right now? You can do this horizontally, the same way I've done it, and you can go back for questions. And you can do it vertically based on the content of the data, based on the content you're delivering. You can do it this way. You can set the focus on the left column and then move the focus to the right column. It's really up to you. Just keep your audience engaged with you in every point using contrast. Number 5 is the number of objects. Number of objects on the slide really matter. And when I say number of objects, I mean the title, the images, the icons, the text you have, the subtitles you have. So to reach a level where we really choose what is the right number of objects to have in my slides, let's play a game. I'm going to need your attention here. So if you're not far away from your device where you're watching this stream and you have access to the chat, I'm going to show a couple of objects on the slide. The minute you finish counting all of them, type yes on the chat area. Just type Y on the chat area. Get ready, buckle up. 3, 2, 1. Count the number of objects and then type Y on the chat of YouTube. What you will notice is that it took you some time to count all of these objects. And if we do it again with fewer number of objects, you will count it faster. Thank you for the answer. Yes, there are 9. True. So let's do it again. Let's do it again with fewer number of objects. 3, 2, 1. Next slide on. How many objects do you see? Type Y. Type the number of objects. Like Badriya, Khalifa, Nawal. Thank you all. Now the second one. Yes, thank you. That's right. I believe you noticed you've done it faster. So we're gonna do it for the last time. The last slide on this game. 3, 2, 1. Next slide. Count the number of objects. Type the number on the chat. And you yourself, you notice that you've done this way faster than the previous slides. Yes, true, 6 elements. Now what happened is, in your brain, counting 6 elements is easy, because in your brain they're 3 by 3. You don't need to count them. You look at them and you immediately figure out that they're 6. So the perfect number of elements to have in your screen or in your slides is 6 elements. They're between 4 to 6. You can go up to 7, but 6 is better. So what happens is, your audience will not get distracted by too many information or too many objects on your slide. A title, subtitle, couple of supporting icons or images, and then your actual text or bullet points, which is counted. The bullet points are counted as well. So it really depends on the content, but this is that's the number that really works all the time. Moving on. Most of the PowerPoint designers and the attendees as well, they fear a huge number of slides. When they see 100 slides, they go like, wow, no, this is going to be a boring, long presentation. Well, allow me to say this. The amount of slides was never the problem. You know what's the problem? Is the number of objects you have in each slide. Now, let me ask you a question here. Since we started from the title slide until this point, how many objects do you think how many slides do you think we presented? Take a guess. Guess in the chat area. This slide right now is slide number what exactly? It will indicate how many slides we've delivered so far. Just to prove to you that the amount of slides was never the problem. So far, we spent around 20 minutes. And until here, if you think we delivered like 5, 10, 15, 7 slides, that is not true. What actually happened is, so far, we delivered 51 slides. That's what we delivered so far, 51 slides. So with fewer objects on the screen, you get to deliver your content, focus on your content, and you don't care about how many slides you're using. Moving on, you need to engage your audience. And in order to engage your audience, you will use plugins. PowerPoint has plugins to engage your audience. Some of these plugins is called WooClap. WooClap, all right? So the WooClap plugin allows you to participate like this. For instance, if I click, allow me to go back. If I click on the link, or you scan this code in here from your mobile device, and this is what will happen. The attendees on their mobile device, they're going to see such a screen, all right, where it just says, we're ready to engage, all right? The minute you move to the next slide, which has the question slide. I'll move to the next slide. I play it, and this is what they get. This is what they get. They get the question on their screen. And by the time they answer the question and submit it from their mobile device, this answer will be shown live on your presentation. You see this one attendee in here and one answered. And at the end, you can show the correct answer. So if you're trying to collect feedback, you're trying to engage your attendees, you can engage them within your PowerPoint. How to do that? That will be part 2 of this session. Next, some presentation design tips. Before you start designing your presentation, you need to develop your ideas. In order to develop your ideas, this is where you start. Start scribbling from the corner all the way down. If the topic is anything, natural beauty, then you start by typing keywords, drawing shapes, anything got to do with the concept of this design that you're trying to achieve. This will help you really unleash the creativity and come up with a good design. And before you dive into PowerPoint, know your audience. That's a golden rule. Know who are they, all right, their age, for instance. What is their expectations out of this presentation, and how much do they know about the topic in order to deliver right content and good design for them. When you know all of this, it will help to have what we call mood board. All right, a mood board basically is a board where you collect pieces of information as if they're evidence. All right, pieces of information about your audience, and then this will help you choosing the right design for your audience. Next is to list down the titles of the presentation, the topics you will discuss. Because this, when you list in topics, now it makes it easier for you to switch. Oh, I want a storyboard before topics. You can have it this way. You can have it in the form of outline. It's up to you. Just remember one thing: when you're designing a presentation, basically it's a story you're trying to tell, and each story has a beginning and has an end. What we're doing now is the tricky part, which is the middle part. We need to focus here. And for you to tell this story in a better way and choose the right objects on your slides, how many pictures do I want? How many paragraphs do I want? I prefer to use sticky notes. They're easy to move, easy to manipulate, easy to distract or delete. Draw what you want to have in each slide, and then move to what we call storyboarding. You can drop the sticky notes if you don't want them, but try the storyboarding. Because in a storyboarding, you're a director, and all the elements on the slides are actors. So you decide which actor goes to what scene, and then what's the animation required, the movement, what will happen in every slide. In short, what will happen in every scene. Remember, you're a director. In order to have this layout, open Word document, have these boxes, and a small box down here where you will describe the scene, the timing, the duration, the transition of the slide. Write everything you want in here, especially if you're working in a team and someone else will do the actual design and you will come up with the idea. So in order to deliver your ideas the best way, have what we call, as I showed you earlier, storyboarding. Moving on, layout. The key to a good layout, or the key to a good presentation, is a simple layout. I believe that beauty is in simplicity. So as you can see, margin, padding, portions are divided in a very good way. In order to have a very good layout, I use the rule of third grid. I use the rule of third grid. I took it from photographers. The rule of third grid says you have anchor points. These are your anchor points. Try to position your items on the screen on those anchor points. This cute girl over here is on this grid, or between these two grids, all right? For a full face shot, this would look better. So to have when you use the rule of third grid, you will get better compositions. Let's apply that to PowerPoint. PowerPoint has a header, has the middle part, and then, as we said, we have the footer. But it doesn't have to be this way all the time. Using the rule of third grid, what you need to do, or what you can do, you can have several layouts based on this. You can have a layout like this. You can have a different layout like this. It really depends. Do I need a big image in here and then my text here? Or maybe the focus is on the text, not on the image, and I need just a small image in here. Or maybe I want it this way. So you can have really different layouts. Colors, pretty confusing most of the time. What colors should I use? What themes should I use? If you're working in an entity, you're basically stuck with the logo of your entity. But if you're working in an agency, or you're a student, or you're a trainer, and you want to have a pretty presentation, I have the solution for you. I have these websites that will help you. I will demonstrate the first website only. There you go. Due to the time, of course. These tools will help you choose the right color. So for instance, if I'm working on a TDRA presentation, for instance, or any other presentation, and let's just choose blue, all right, as my main logo color. And then what I will do, hit generate. What this tool will tell you, oh, you can use this theme. You can use these different shades, and you always need one accent color, one different color, all right, if you're using shades of the same color. See, the tool will help you to build your or to choose your presentation. I said I'll do the first one only, but I can't help it. I like this tool too, because figuring out colors here is pretty easy. You click on start the generate, and then all you need to do, hit space on your keyboard, space, and then it keeps changing the theme. Then there is a lot that you can do, what we will do on part 2 of this session, or actually on part 2, which is the next session. Next, we have font types. Now, in font types, it's really sometimes annoying, because you don't know what font to use. You don't know how many fonts should I use. So a question to you guys, what do you think is the best number of fonts to use in one presentation? How many fonts should I use in one presentation? Should I use 5 fonts? Should I use 1 font? Type your answer in the chat area, please. Of course, choosing the right font is based on the content, based on the logo, based on the industry of the entity you're working in. Some entities, they have their own template. Thank you, Moza. Thank you, Salim, Fatima Khulud. Yes, 2 fonts. If you really need to, don't exceed 3 fonts. But usually, 2 fonts. To help you choosing the right font, if you don't have a template to work on, I have some tools for you. What you need to do, the concept you need to learn, is font pairing. Font pairing means what title font would suit and match the content font and the subtitle font if you're going to use 3 fonts. So the choice of font is basically goes back to the mood board, if you remember the mood board. You know what people do with the mood board if they're working on an agency that actually does design? They go to the client, they take pieces of the magazine or newspaper they read and stick it on the mood board, all right? They take cloth material, printed papers, colors they've seen on their office, anything that would tell you what the client wants, and stick it on the mood board. All right. From there, you can easily extract the font, the theme, the colors, and all of this. And if all of this doesn't help, and you know what, sometimes I'm lazy enough to have a mood board, I just go to FontJoy. Let me show you what FontJoy does. And in the meantime, I'm going to show you some capabilities of PowerPoint. So usually I click on the link, go to another, go to the browser and show you on the browser. But in order to keep your audience engaged and not to distract them by like what I did earlier with the browser, moving windows all over the place, you can actually display web pages within your presentation. How? There's a plugin for it. This is a live website, which is the FontJoy. All right, this is a live website. It's you can actually interact. So let me demonstrate this website to you. What you need to do, choose the level of similarity. Do you want the title font, subtitle, and text to have similar fonts, very similar, or high contrast between them? If it's very similar, click on generate, wait for it, and that's what you get. Similar font. The names of the fonts are here. You have Roboto, you have Fairysense, and so on. Right? Let's say I like this one. Click on the lock icon, lock it, and now we generate again. Let's see different fonts. Oh, I like this one. Lock it. Let's finalize the content area. Generate. No, I don't like this one, and so on. All right. But if you want high contrast, move it all the way, and now you get total different fonts. But this is a good for a flyer, for instance. Let me unlock these guys here. Flyer, for instance, some advertisements where you get really different fonts. So this tool is really good. That's the Joy FontJoy tool. The next tool was Google Fonts, which is very good, especially if you're using Arabic fonts. There we go. You can do a lot with this tool. And the best thing is that you can download the font immediately, add it to your device, and use it. All right. You can type sentences and see how it looks. You can change the variations of the fonts from Google Fonts. So that's it about fonts. Before I move to images and graphics, let me show you quickly how to set up the fonts and colors, because by now you've chosen your colors, you've chosen the font types that you want. You want to set it as fixed template for your presentation. So what you do is, there is what you do. You go to your PowerPoint, there we go, and from the design tab, there is variants, group, click on the arrow. Here, you get to choose the font that you want, like the theme I've done here for TDRA. You can go for customized colors and change these accents. Anything you change in here will appear where exactly? Will appear wherever font color is needed, like this here, or shape format color. Wherever there is color, you get the theme color. And for fonts, same place, fonts, you get to customize if you want. The header font, if you can see, and the body font. You do this the first thing before you start doing anything on your presentation, and it will be set for the whole presentation. So I'll move back to where I left my presentation, which was images and graphics. Now, this is very basic to some of you and very new to others. So bear with me. These are images. Anything you take from your camera, mobile device is called an image, right? Anything is computer based, that's graphics. Even if it includes a human being picture or an animal, but it's made on in Photoshop, for instance. So we call that graphics. So when you're talking to your designers, you use the same terms, images and graphics. Those images and graphics, they have different extensions. For instance, JPEG or JPEG. These are JPEG, all right? They're good in terms of size and colors. They get the job done, but there is a better size, a better extension in terms of size, all right? And that is the PNG. So if you have JPEG pictures on your presentation, the size might be a bit big. If you use only PNG, then the size of your presentation will be a bit small. And the benefit of PNG is that they usually come transparent, so they won't affect these icons or these pictures you see in front of you, these graphics. They don't have a background, which means I can put them and place them in any background, and that's the benefit of PNG. You cannot have this with JPEG. There's always colors all over the JPEG, but on PNG you can have this in here and then have a blue background. It won't be affected because the background is transparent. And when you're searching for specific PNG icons on Google, what you type is type that search keyword and type PNG next to it. And then you choose the transparent ones. The third extension that you would use beside JPEG and PNG is going to be GIF. And when do we use GIF? When we want animated pictures. When you want animated pictures, that's the time you use GIF. Backgrounds. I'm gonna leave the comments to you guys. You tell me, what do you think of this background? What do you think of this slide in general? Don't get me wrong, I like rivers. I've been raised in the Nile River. That's why I don't agree doing this to rivers. Um, Colorful background. They try to keep the contrast by having white text, but again, distracting. I can't really read. I don't know. My brain doesn't really know to whether to read or focus on the background or what to do exactly. And when the speaker is speaking, I would lose focus. I don't know whether to read or listen to the speaker. I don't know on what point exactly he's talking right now. So this is not the right way to do it. Some very distracting. Very, very distracting. Yes, not clear. So, what to do? Basically, don't have a background in your PowerPoint slides. But if you insist, you can do a couple of tips on or a couple of tricks to um, bring your text to life. For instance, if this is your background, well, if I write text on top of this, it won't be clear. So what I will do, I will try to reduce the brightness of my background because it's not the focus. All right. Now, this color of the text, it really fits the background because the background has some purple areas in here. And if I use yellow, for instance, or light orange like this one, it won't be clear on a white background. So this font or this color of the font is okay. However, it doesn't fit the theme. The current theme I'm using, it uses this navy blue, or yes, this blue, and it uses red, dark red. So I can't really all of a sudden have a purple on the slide. Doesn't look nice. So what I can do, I can play with the colors even of the background. So I can switch. I can have the background reddish and the text you have in blue or gray or black, or the other way around. bluish background, red text. If you noticed in the slides that I've been using, I usually use black gray on the text. Whenever I want you to focus on the content I'm displaying, I use red. So use color coding as well in your presentations to highlight text. All right. If you can really use pictures if you insist. I recommend not to use pictures in your background. Keep your background simple. You can use patterns in your background. All right, you can use really patterns like small dots and so on, like this one in here. All right, that's part of the background. Very simple, doesn't distract the content. Very nice. Next, when it's time to present data, well, some of us uses the default charts in PowerPoint, which is good. And then you have smart charts, which is even better. Just remember to have the theme in place. I'm gonna demo that in a while. Another point or another solution or another suggestion, what I do, you go online, search for free templates. There are plenty of free templates. And within those templates, if you specifically search for charts templates, you would get wonderful charts like these, for instance, or these. And then they're color coded. They have the color theme. Or actually, they don't have the color theme. You change the color theme. You change their colors to match the theme. All right. Remember, we said you always need an accent. So my theme has bluish shades of gray, and all of a sudden, this color over here. But it's not distracting, right? So you can choose any color of your choice to be the accent color. The actual theme is blue, and the accent color is red. All right. So you can change this one to another shade of red if you want. There we go. There we go. You can get wonderful charts to present your data online, and they're for free. In order to better present your data, remember, it's not about the design. It's about the design that fits delivering your data or helps delivering your content. And if you're displaying tables, remember what we spoke about in tables? You can show them row by row, high contrast, or you can show them column by column. And you can even highlight them this way. Highlight this column because I'm going to talk about Feb right now. And in Feb specifically, I'm talking about cost. And the time you move to talk about cost in January, change the highlight as well. See, now your audience is following the laser beam like cats. That's how it is, and that's what I want to reach, because now I can keep your attention and I can take you from one point to the other, and I'm 100% sure I have your attention. The last part that I want to talk about before I do a couple of things in PowerPoint is animation. So animation, we spend some good time in animation because we don't know whether to move this object from here or to bring this object from here. What will be the exit of the object? Do I use lots of animation or not? It depends on the type of presentation. If it's formal, then there's less animation, right? You can just stick to transitions between slides. If it's not formal, well, yeah, you can use as much animation. But again, much animation can distract your audience. But by the time you reach this level in your presentation design, you already decided what animations to use. Remember, because you've done a storyboarding. So on your storyboard, you decided about the animation already. You decided about the actors in the scene, Mr. Director. So just reflect this in your PowerPoint. Something to appear, something to move from left to right. All of a sudden, another object appears. So you're basically doing what you already analyzed on papers. You know, guys, my tip to you, never start on PowerPoint. Pen and paper. Why? Because they're easy, very easy. And your brain doesn't want to get distracted by what tool to use, how to do things in PowerPoint. Your brain knows how to write and draw perfectly. So focus on what do you want to do, and let your brain take the rest. When it comes to time for the PowerPoint, then if you decided that you want to do some animations that you don't really know how to do it in PowerPoint, yes, you can spend the time later on figuring it out or getting a tutorial on how to do it. But first of all, serve the purpose. Make the animation in a way where it would really help delivering the content. Remember, it's a story you're trying to tell. So you need to take your audience into a journey to deliver valuable presentation. What I do, as I told you earlier, I consider my presentation slides as scenes. And what I like to do all the time on those scenes, I like to take you on a journey without your attention. So I'm guiding you, taking you from point A to point B, using my design, directing my scenes in order to deliver the knowledge or content that I have within my presentation. So before we wrap this, one point that I did not show you on PowerPoint, um, designed for this presentation, because the rest of the points will be on the practical side of this session, which is part two. We're doing part one now, general tips and tricks. What you need to do is you need to use guides, for instance, guys. So here you go. I'm gonna go for a new slide. You see the guides that I have, these lines. This is my rule of third grid. I can get rid of this middle part so it will look clear to you. Here is my rule of third grid where I align my content. How to get these guides? Right click anywhere on an empty area away from the stage. Right click grid and guides, and then you can add vertical guides or horizontal guides. And that will be it for this presentation. I hope you really like it. I hope you enjoyed my flight. We're gonna start the Q&A now, questions and answers. Feel free to ask your questions on the chat area, and I'll be more than happy to answer them or demonstrate immediately on the screen.